Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am here with another Allie. Isn't that exciting? So I
Yes.
call this a chat with the two allies, Allie and Allie. There
Yes.
you
I love that. I love it.
go. I love it. So I met Miss Alice, Allison is her real name. I met her in Sedona at the wonderful retreat that we went to in May. And the things that have been happening, not only at the retreat, but after the retreat, have
Yes.
brought Allie back, and she's going to share some of her spiritual journey with us today. So
Ooh.
I decided, oh, Allie, me, let's pull a card for this particular wonderful event. And I pulled
Yes.
this one called Radho, which is a journey, evolution, and progress. I know. And it is a rune
That's
card. It's a rune card. Yeah. And it says
yes.
it represents the ordered movement of energy in time and space as it relates to human awareness. It represents our most intimate personal or spiritual journey and can also represent things being put into perspective, evolution, and the life cycle. So it's absolutely
Yes.
perfect for our discussion.
Perfect. It is
Yeah,
apropos.
it is.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, it is.
Wonderful.
So I have been bursting since I left. No, actually. Oh my God. Are we starting to talk about it?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, we just jump into it. Um, I
Okay.
was, I think I want to ask you though. You had met Susan Lynn and Jennifer back in New Orleans at their
Yes.
first event, and you
Yes.
decided at some point that you wanted to come to Sedona and meet with
Yes.
everybody else, and so you
Yes.
came from New
Yes.
York in order to do
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
let's start right from there, Allison.
Okay. First of
Yeah.
all, okay, I have a fear. I had a fear of flying.
Okay.
And when I went to New Orleans, I was climbing out of being, in hibernation and cut off. But
Yeah.
also here in New York, when that disease came here, it hit New York first, and we didn't know what was happening. So a lot of people died in a very short amount of time. And I lost 19 friends and associates within 4 months. It was shocking,
Oh,
but
sure.
it changed my finger, but it changed my perspective about life.
Yep.
And what happened is, I would watch Susan and Jen on Thursday nights, and when they talked about going to New Orleans, I was like, when am I going to get a chance to go to New Orleans with a group? And it's a spiritual place. Somehow or other, something told me that I needed to go.
Hmm.
And so I went, but I took Amtrak,
Yep.
47 hours on the train from New York to Amtrak. And Susan has always been very encouraging towards me. She is just like my mentor, older sister, everything. And she told me then, she said, you know what? You're going to get on a plane. She said, you're going to get over your fear. But you know what I told her? I told her, you're going to speak to auditoriums full of people. I told her that then.
Yep.
And she kept telling me, you're psychic. And I'm telling them that I'm not. But then again, strange things kept happening. Even in New Orleans, they had a contest. And just before they pulled out the name, I told them, oh, yeah, I know I won. And they pulled my name out of the hat. They were like, but you're not psychic.
No.
Okay. So I did that. And also, I've never traveled alone. I have a fear, being a woman of a particular age, okay, and you're also, taught not to do too much solo traveling because you have to bring your vagina with you,
Can't leave it at
and
home.
it becomes a danger,
Yeah.
being places alone, so coming to New Orleans for me was huge. And when I came there and found that overall the group, our collective,
Yep.
as we know, are women that are our age. It's
Correct.
women of a particular age, which I find really interesting. So I wanted to go to Sedona. But I said,
Mm.
how am I going to get there by Amtrak? And I looked at everything, and there's like, you can, but it's just a horrendous trip. It's a terrible ride. It would be a whole extra week of travel.
Sure. Sure.
So in between that, my sister decided to spend her 50th birthday in Panama, and she threatened me, and she said, if you do not come to my party, do not bring your behind to Brooklyn ever again. So my son talked to me about flying, 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 and then I said, there are people, especially in New York. I get in cars every day.
Mm-hmm.
Reckless driving in New York is awful. I've been in 5 accidents. None of them were ever my fault, but I still get into a car. And
Right.
something told me in the spirit, it's none of your business how the pilot flies the plane.
That's true.
Your only concern is getting on and off of it. And
Getting
whether
your
you go or
program.
not,
Yep.
when you're going to die, you're going to die.
Good for
A
you.
bunch of
Yep.
people in New York went to sleep and never woke up during
COVID.
our
Yeah.
quarantine,
Yeah.
and a few of them had no
Yep.
symptoms. So so we get to Sedona. First of all, one of my friends told me to put myself on the waiting list. I didn't know the list existed, and I also said, I'm not going to go, but I'll just put myself on the list because I was not flying to Arizona. I still had to fear. All of a sudden, I get a month before we're supposed to go a notice on the email that says, Allison, your name came up on the list. Do you want to go? And I was scared, but I wanted to go. And I was talking with my friends, and a couple of them do a lot of traveling. And one of them said to me, I'm terrified to fly, and I do it afraid.
Yep.
And so I said, you know what? I cannot operate on a spirit of fear. There are
Sure.
things that I have to do, and
Yep.
being at home, yeah. I have a
Yeah.
brother who's lived in Japan for 30 years, and he has invited us over there all the time. And I had no intentions of going because it's a long flight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So get to Sedona. Where do we start? You and I sat together in Mel's class, and
Oh,
we talked about
yeah.
forgiveness, forgiving yourself, holding grudges. And remember, all of us in that group had like some, like an axe to grind or a grudge against, whoever. Remember,
Yep.
he went around
Yep.
the room and we all were saying, yeah, well, I just didn't like this and I didn't like that. So
Get
what
over
happened was
it.
when Mel talked about keeping your power, not
Mm-hmm.
holding on to grudges and old offenses that rob you of your ability to be your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
But also a grudge is like a baby. If you don't nurse it, it dies.
Mm-hmm.
You have to feed a grudge.
You do.
So what happened is when I came home, I was at my mom's house the day after we came back from Sedona, and I have a sister who I haven't spoken to since the middle of 2019. We had a disagreement. Actually, I mean, if being honest, it was it was her fault. But but but
Uh-huh.
you got to pick your fights, and some things are not that important. And my mom is 82 years old, and I'm happy that I have her, but
Mm.
it would make her extremely uncomfortable. It's been uncomfortable having her daughters in her house, and I'm not speaking to
Sure.
whoever. It's just ugly. So I was
Mm.
sitting at my mom's house with showing them the UFO shots that we took with Linda, and
Yep.
my sister came through the door, and usually I just like stare at her. I give her like the death ray hate stare, and she goes on up the stairs. And she walked
Right.
into my mom's house, and something in me, it's like I stepped outside of myself, and I heard myself say,
Yep.
Janelle, I love you. I can't be not speaking to you. I don't want to fight anymore, and I want everything to start new today. and she came over and she embraced me and we hugged and kissed. And the thing is, like, it felt like, oh my God, it was a relief.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and the thing is, I didn't even know that it was a a burden, because I said, since I didn't do anything to apologize for, okay, it's not on me. But actually, you have to work to stay angry, and I mean,
Oh, yeah. And it hurts you
you know,
more than her. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So that was number one. That was one of the things that is a direct result of Mel.
Right.
Because I have not spoken to her in almost 4 years, and I hadn't planned on speaking to her ever,
Right.
because she's not going to apologize.
Hmm.
She isn't. But I realized that the apology is for me. It's to get things off of my plate.
That's right.
So yeah, okay.
For you. Gave
Now,
you more space. Yeah.
yes, it did. And everybody else in the room, they were like, oh, but they were thanking me, which I resent, because that means that you thought that I was the problem. Okay. But
Okay.
if that's how you have to feel, I'm okay. You know what? I'm on this woo woo kumbaya crap. I don't care about this stuff. I took pictures of aliens, so I don't give a shit, excuse me, about what else they got going on inwardly. It's personal.
That's right. Everybody's
So,
personal. Yep.
so when you and Keith drove off, when y'all left, first of all, the reading Linda gave me that day, at all of us were in the room together. Okay.
Yeah.
The next day, Susan was waiting for them to drive off and leave. Linda walked up to me and finished the reading as if yes. Linda walked up to me and she said a couple of other things. And it's crazy because Michael, when I came home, Michael walked up to me and said those things 3 days later.
This is your
Weird.
husband. Your husband, Michael?
Hey, he's my whatever. He's my
Your man.
64-year-old
Yeah, okay.
boyfriend. Who has a boyfriend at 64?
No,
He's an
but
old man.
I
Yeah,
want to
but
make sure everybody knows who
oh
he
yeah.
is. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
excuse me.
Yeah.
He's my Michael, and
Yeah.
that's what I call him, because there were so many guys in New York named Michael. So when I talk about him, I say my Michael. I do adore him, but Oh, first of all, I'm a Gemini. Wait, I'm a Gemini, and he's a Libra, and you are a Libra married to a Gemini, so you know what
Yes.
goes on. Okay.
I know what goes on. I do.
Yes. So Linda comes up to me and she says, blah, 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 blah. And she goes. And they leave. A majority of our group left after y'all. Okay. There were groupings of us that had to hang out after we checked out, waiting for the shuttles to take us to the airport. So we were hanging out in that little greeting room area. Okay. A woman walks in there and comes and asks us if she could do a reading for us. It was me, Uma, and a lady out of our group.
Uh-huh.
And she pulls out this spread. I sent you a picture of it. It's just shells, coins, small, whatever. And so she asked me, did I want a reading? And I said, yeah, sure, of course. I'll take,
Yeah.
But I have never seen this thing before. I've never seen that type of a
That
spread
kind of
before.
thing. Yeah.
She has me spread everything out, and then she sits down and she gives me a reading, the same reading that I got from Linda G. And come to find out, this lady's name was Linda. Her name was Linda also.
Okay.
Now, she puts the thing out, and she says that she said, because one of the charms that was on the thing was a microphone, and it was laying across this blue line that indicated my throat chakra. And she kept doing the reading and going back and forth about how you have to open your mouth. You cannot grow if you don't speak your truth. It's your
Right.
throat. You have to be firm, and you have to speak because you're holding in a lot of things that you know are true and that you know are correct. I mean, she went through this whole thing, and then she goes on, which Susan keeps saying it to me, and Kevin Lewis said it
Mm-hmm.
to me also. He said, "Do you know how powerful you are?" And they keep asking me this, and I don't know. But this girl, Linda, I call her Linda who? Because I don't know. She said she goes through the thing and then she gets emotional. And
Oh.
she says, you know what? She said, you would not, you don't know what you have. She said, you have a lot of power that you need to learn how to use it. And she says, because you are really, really strong. And she starts laughing and she says, I don't want to use a, a W word, but you're really, really strong. So I'm
Okay.
saying, what's the W? You
Is it
know,
which? Is it
it is a
which? Did she
witch.
say?
It was witch. It was witch. So
Yes,
then,
it's which.
yeah. So then she asked
Mhm.
me if I had anything to ask her, and I asked her about the beading because I told you all of a sudden I began having the urge to make
To
jewelry,
do
and
it.
I make
Make jewelry. Right.
right,
Yeah.
right. I told you that. So I asked her that too,
Mm-hmm.
and she said it is a craft handed down to you from another life. And this is something that you used to do, and it is an ability that you have had, and you're just going back into it. And then she says, this is from some type of a tribal thing in your history. So then I don't know if you know Uma. Uma was in our group. And
Yes.
okay, so Uma was the last person hanging out in this thing with me because our flights were
With
11 o'clock at night.
yeah.
So Uma out of nowhere says, yeah, but it's not on your mother's side, it's on your father's side.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now, so now I'm kind of like,
Woo.
because
Yeah.
because first of all, Uma, is so quiet. She never, and she comes up with that, and then I'm like, what? And she said, yeah. She said, you think it's your mother's side? It's not your mother's side, and she's right because my great grandmother on my mother's side, we always knew was Blackfoot Indian, grew up on the res, this and that and
Yeah.
this and that.
Yeah.
On my father's side, they come from the Caribbean islands. So I know nothing. The only thing that I know is that my great great grandpa was a Scotsman. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
That's so for
Yep.
Uma to say, no, you think it's your mother, but it's not your mother, it's your dad. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm going to store that. I'm going because I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. The girl then goes onto the thing and she looks and there are two engagement rings in this thing, and they are laying one on top of the other over a cowrie shell. And she said that that indicates that I am in a type of a marriage with a person, and that he and I are tied, that we're not like hot in love, but we have a loving relationship. And I said, that's Michael, that is it. And that was what Linda came over to say the day after. She said to me, Allison, he is a energy vampire, but you have your own space and you're able to go there
Right. To be save yourself
and
from
spread
it.
out. Yes.
Yeah.
And she said, because the thing is, he loves you. He and she said, but the thing is that you guys are together. You're together, and only you guys understand it. And I said, yeah, I get that.
Yep.
So when this other Linda comes up and says the exact same thing, I'm like, oh wow, okay, fine. So now, the day after I come back from Sedona, a cousin calls me on the phone. She's 87 years old. She's our matriarch. And she asked me, what are you doing in Arizona? So now, this is a part of opening my throat chakra and not being ashamed to say, because that's been a big thing also, that
Right.
I believe in astrology. I'm looking at tarot cards. I'm I'm doing the entire woo woo trip, and then I took pictures of aliens.
That's
Okay,
right.
so
That's
it's like I
You're
just
not
jumped out of
alone.
the closet. I jumped out of the closet on her, you know. So I said, Gladys, I said,
Yeah.
girl, I said, I was at this thing with all these people and da da da. And when I stopped talking, she said, well, you know, your grandmother, now she's her mother was my grandmother's eldest sister.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and she says, your grandmother, Aunt Eunice, Aunt Lena, and my mother were all psychics. We've never discussed this. We've never discussed anything like this.
Oh my God! Everything just sort of tumbled right out, didn't it?
And
Everything.
she just rolls out, and not only that, she says, and they're Carib Indians. On what that girl said was right. My dad's family descended from indigenous inhabitants of St. Lucia and St. Vincent. Okay, we have never talked about this.
Wow.
And then she proceeds to talk about a lot of things that happened. So I said, okay. Now she says, okay, I want you to understand that you're growing in powers and knowledge. So now I want you to call and check up with me every now and then because I'll give you guidance.
Good.
So now I've got help from a relative who I would never, like I said, we never
talked that. Yeah. Yeah.
never, ever. Okay.
Oh my Lord.
So my father now, the next day, because he knows also that I don't like to fly, and everyone is like, what the hell got her on a plane to Arizona of all places with a bunch of people she didn't know because I didn't know anybody on that trip except Susan.
Right.
I just went.
But you didn't have any problem with any of us. You just fit right in.
Allie, you guys, there's nothing I could say. Absolutely nothing I could say. It was so. My dad now says, hey, what were you doing over in Arizona? And I said, well, I'm going to try the same thing. I said, well, I went to, I talked to Gladys about grandma and this and that. He said, oh, she told you, huh? I says, yeah. He said, well, I got some stories I could tell you. So now he gets me to go out to lunch with my sister and I. No, but I'm going to kill this old man because we get out to lunch. So I call my sister and I'm like, Daddy's about to open up the floodgate, man. I said, he's getting ready to tell us about grandma and all our aunties and stuff. Because I will say this, my mother growing up lived in awe of her mother-in-law. She loved my grandmother. And she used to relate different things that used to happen in her life that was just amazing. And now I realize that my grandmother knew they were going to happen because of her psychic experiences.
Sure.
She had certain abilities and she was able to do certain things that made no sense to us. Like how she was a woman, she had 5 sons, single mom, she owned her own house in Jamaica, Queens, all of my life. She did not have a terrific job. But it was the law of attraction. She was very
Yeah.
generous with her time and her money and her heart and everything. So anything she wanted, and it was weird, anything she wanted practically came to the door for her.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So my dad gets us to come out. We go out to lunch. Now we're spending all this money. My sister and I, we're eating, and my dad's at the Chinese all you can eat, and he likes to drink like 85 cups of damn tea. So we're like, okay, okay, now you ate. You ate.
Right.
Give
Talk
us
to us.
give, give us what we came here for.
Right.
And he says, all in good time, all in due time. My sister looked at me and I looked at her and I mouthed to her because I've said it to her for years. I'm going to kill your father. Because he got us to come out here promising some. But
Right.
one thing that he did say, though, that I find interesting because Linda asked me, was my father on the other side? And she talked about a man, and I told her that is my grandpa. Okay. When she talked about him, my father said to me on that day that he believes that he is grandpa reincarnated. And the thing is that the idea crossed my mind, but I said no because grandpa died in 1964. But I realize now he could be a walk in. And I'm wondering if he is because my
Possible.
dad got to be a certain age and his personality hardened. And my grandpa was a harsher man.
Okay.
And when he said that to me on the day that he gave us no other information because it's all in due time,
I know.
it's not time yet. It ain't time to know yet.
Yep.
I don't know when because
When?
he's 84. Wait,
Yeah.
wait, he's 84. You know
Take
what I
care,
told him?
buddy. Yeah. Yeah.
I said, bruh, I said, if you die in your sleep tonight, they won't even authorize an autopsy for your skinny butt. My father, oh my God.
Oh, God.
But he did, because since then I've been really wondering if he's a walk-in because he also began producing a lot of stuff like music and
Oh.
um, poetry and a lot of stuff. And my grandfather wrote a lot, not my dad.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So
Yeah.
food. Okay. So now that takes care of the Linda. Okay. Linda G, the girl and the rub. Okay. Oh, the healing class with Jen.
Oh yeah.
The
Jen
hands-on
Win.
healing. Yes.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That did something because I was worked on and touched by EQ, Freebird Debbie,
Yeah.
and a doctor. I call her Dr. Wonderful because she is just a loving
Uh-huh.
spirit who practices her medicine and she's sweet and she knows who she is. But the thing is, I believe that they really did do a healing on me because y'all see that I walk with a cane,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I did more walking in Sedona than I do.
Oh.
And normally in between like classes, I would have had to go back to that room and just lay down. I would have been aching and in so much pain, and I
Sure.
was not.
You weren't.
So I believe absolutely that that healing class enabled me to be able to enjoy the whole thing. So now the next day we had that brief 3 hours off. When I
Yes.
saw you by the waterfall, when I saw you by the waterfall, okay. Two ladies came up to me. I'm going to call them Van Lady and Little Girl because I can't
Okay.
remember anybody's name. They came to me and they just said out of the blue, Allison, you want to go over, here? So I said, yeah, okay. I'm going to say this, Allie, when I got to the base of the waterfall, that area, if I had seen those steps and that ride, if I had walked over there alone, I would never have gone. And that's the
Okay.
truth.
Yep.
They walked with me over there, and then what they did is one of them would go a little ahead to check the terrain to see if I was able to go up there. And we, little bit at a time, walked all the way up the side of those things to the waterfall that was at the top over there. And we sat down and put our feet in the water. And the thing is that I believe that there was some type of a healing happening because we talked about how we felt after we came out of the water, and then we went up a little higher into a couple of vortexes up there.
Yep.
And then what happened was the terrain became rocky and uneven, so I couldn't walk with my shoes on. So we took off our shoes and we walked in our bare feet. I'm a person, I do not like my feet. I don't like my shoes off. I do not like walking around with no shoes on. But it felt good. We walked around and I realized now unconsciously that what we were doing is earthing. And I had just heard about earthing just before I came to Sedona. I had never heard of it. So we're walking around, and then little girl says, I want to do the 120 steps. So now we were all the way up high. We had to go back down the side, walk up those steps, and she asked, we're going to go up here quietly in prayer. And we walked up those steps, and we stopped, and we spoke at each step, and we handed over the rocks and everything. We did the 120 steps up to that big flat rock area. You went up there?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A lady comes out of nowhere. Because she did not come from behind us. She came from around the other side. And she was saying, I want you guys to go have this experience at this rock. So van lady lives in a van. It's like nomad land. She tricked out her van and she showed it to me. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so, like the freedom of being able to just go. You get mad, you could go. You don't want to be around anybody, you can go. You want to be alone? You want to go to Jersey? As if that's a place to go. I don't know why I said Jersey. Of all places in the U.S., I'm right next door to Jersey, and I don't go to damn Jersey. So the lady comes up and walks us all the way around to this thing, and when we get to, it's this big, like a depression of all this clay. And they helped me down into the thing, and I laid flat on my back because the woman was saying either you're going to see it or you're not. I can't describe it. So I laid on my back, and you look up into the sky, and you don't look at the sky. You kind of like just look through the clouds. It is a energy vortex over there. And what happens is you lay down, and I got to explain this because I've got arthritis all over. I am in almost chronic aches and pains all the time. So just the fact that I was able to do this is just amazing to me, honestly. And I laid flat on my back on that rock. And first it was uncomfortable, but after a while you feel yourself fusing with the rock. You lay there and it doesn't hurt. You're becoming one. Okay. And what she told me to do, I looked up into the sky, and you could see that the sky itself dissolves into these white, shining, crystalline things that is falling from the sky onto the ground. And when you're laying in this this area, it's on you. And
Oh,
you right.
yeah.
It, oh my, so, and I experienced that. So then they had to help me back up off this thing, and we went back down the road. So when we got by our rooms, it was a half an hour till our next meal. And normally I would have had to go to the room and lay down. Actually, I would have skipped that meal.
Mhm.
I went down there. I think I washed the dust off my shoes and my feet, and I went to the next thing. And I didn't think about it until I came back home, and I said, you know what? Something was at work there
Yeah.
because I exerted myself way more than I have in years. And I had no aches, no pains, no nothing. Usually, after I come back from a trip, I'm usually I'm usually in bed a day or two.
Right.
No,
Recovering.
no,
Yeah. Hmm.
absolutely. But what I did do is I was looking at the pictures. I took lots of pictures, and I'm thinking about everybody and the kindness and how we were all together. Like we didn't know each other, but we knew each other, and we were there of like one accord and all the niceness. And honestly, I was moved to tears because those two ladies came and sought me out for whatever reason, and they made sure that I went up that mountain, that I went in that water,
Right.
that I went up onto those and that I experienced all of that I would not have been able to do on my own. Not only that, I would not have been able to encourage myself um, to do it. And it was that level of love and gratitude
Yeah.
that was just overwhelming. Overwhelming.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. What a
Yeah.
beautiful experience. It's funny. I remember one time on a walk, it was in spring, and I looked up and I could see something coming off the trees. And it was
Yes.
like a
Yes.
shower, you know. And I remember thinking,
Yep.
what the hell is that? And I think it was the pollen. But I remember
Hmm.
thinking I'd never seen anything like that before. I've never seen
Yes.
anything. And so when you're talking about the sort of the crystalline thing and you're part of it,
Y-
I understood that
yeah.
completely. What you mean? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know? And then what else? Oh, when Joy Harjo did the reading of her poetry,
Uh
she
huh.
was wearing a ribbon skirt. And she did not go into the significance of it, but I saw that skirt, and something said to me in the spirit, that's the charity that I'm making my jewelry for. Missing and murdered Indigenous women. That's
Wonderful.
my charity.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it
Yep.
spoke to me.
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So
You
now,
you
you
were
see,
in the right headspace in order for all these miraculous, wonderful things to,
yes,
because you were open to it. All these wonderful things just found their way to you. It's amazing.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So wait a minute now. Water Girl, Water Walk, 120 steps, Healing with Jen's class. I took notes. I took
Yep.
notes.
Yep.
Linda and her people are so nice, kind, sweet, generous, helpful, but everybody in the group, her cousin Sue
Yep.
and her crazy husband,
Yep. Yep.
your your crazy husband,
Mhm.
you're okay. Yes. Oh, right. Your husband came to me at a breakfast, sat at the table, and just began talking to me about an autistic child who went to school and became a college professor. Your husband does not know that I did not know that I had an autistic grandson. And
Yeah.
he said to me, he said, you have to find his superpower. And since he said
Yeah.
that to me, that has been my mission. And my sister called me yesterday. She was at
Hmm.
some type of a conference about something else because she's a minister.
Oh, okay.
And somehow or other, the topic came up about autistic children. And a woman in the group began saying how she did her thesis on autism and how there are a lot of companies out here now that are seeking out autistic children to
Oh,
use them in their programs because they're finding that these kids have specific skills.
sure.
You know, as we say, these kids do not have a disability. They're being prepared for the new world.
They are.
That's who they are. And they
Yep.
seem strange to us.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's a lot of things that they are doing that have to be done.
Yeah.
And the woman jumped up and went on this whole big thing and gave my sister her card. So this hopefully will open the door for my beloved grandson
I
to
hope
find his superpower. Because the thing is that I just want him to be able to have a life that is productive and
so. Uh-huh.
rewarding to him, to him,
Sure. Of
you
course.
know. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was
Huh.
your
No.
hubby. And then wait a minute. So I got Joy's skirt. I had to take notes, because it was crazy.
No, it's fine.
Oh,
It's fine.
what I wanted. Oh, with my thumb in the thing.
No, I'm
What?
here in the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason that I wanted to come on and speak to you is to encourage that there are people out here that have these experiences or that have had psychic experiences that they just shoved off and poo-pooed. But the thing is that right now there's something about to happen and everybody has to be ready for it.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that we as a people have a tendency to hold on to superstitions and stuff harder than things that are actually happening around us.
Hmm.
And I just, girl, I just wanted to go. Oh, okay. Also, coming home from Sedona on the plane, there was a couple that got on the plane with a baby. And when I saw them, I said, oh, God, don't sit next to me. And of course they did. So, well, I am
Yeah, I don't
Murphy's Law. I am Murphy's
right,
Law.
right.
I'm telling you, I'm Murphy's Law. So they get on, and so I got my screw face on, and I'm like, man, because my flight pulled off at 11 o'clock that night. So I was expecting to sleep all night. So I'm like, oh man, they sit there with this kid. She started to fuss. And I'm just, you know what? And then something in my ear, a good angel, said, nobody wants their child fussing and crying.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to feel like they have made anybody uncomfortable on the plane.
Hmm.
You could be nice and help them, or you can be a witch. You could be a witch with a bee and just have a miserable ride.
That's
And what
right.
happened is the baby started to fuss, and what happened is the father was holding her, and he was in the middle. I was in the aisle. And when he was holding her, she turned to me and she looked at me over his shoulder, and I fell in love.
Oh.
And so I helped keep her quiet and stuff for her, whatever. And we had a good, and at the end, her dad stopped and he said to me, you don't know how much I appreciate you not,
Yeah.
being,
Makes a
and
difference.
it's the little things, you know what I mean? It doesn't take
I
much to
do.
be nice to people, but also listen to that inner voice because at times you're hearing just be nice. You don't have to be, You don't have to act like that, do you? Really? Everybody has kids, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
kids are pains
I
in the ass. I
understand.
mean, you know, like I have a niece who her kids are teenagers. Her kids are teenagers. They are driving her nuts. And she was going through a bunch of stuff, and she called me up crying. And I turned to her and I said, you know what? Kids are a pain in the ass. They really are. And I said, I said, just understand, yours ain't special. They're just pains. And when they are teens, they're worse.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
And I told her, I said, my mom had four teenagers at the same time. And when it came up, all of a sudden it struck me. I called my mother up after I had that talk with my niece, and I apologized. I called my mom because she went through a divorce with four teens in the house. She almost lost her mind.
I bet. I bet she did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
I do.
so now I think that is the end of my, hold
Well, I
on.
see one thing, and
Gov-
it was something about Ireland.
Oh yes.
Okay. Okay.
Come back from Sedona. I went to Ireland.
Oh my God. Now you're the world traveler.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I went to Ireland and it was such a crazy, uplifting, emotional experience. And I went there to celebrate the birthday of a woman who turned 80 years old, who she and I share a birthday. Now, let me tell you something, girlie. I've got recordings of the birthday girl dancing for 4 records straight. She did the hucklebuck. I didn't even know it was a dance, but it was. She did the hucklebuck quite energetically too. She's all over the place. They say, "Oh, get up and dance." I'm like, I'm not getting up and I got 3 knee replacements. I can't do that anymore. And even when I could, I wasn't doing all of that, you know. But we went there, and there was a part of our trip. What I felt about going to Ireland was I felt the oldness of the country. I felt the age. You can feel the heritage. It is to me, it was a very emotional thing. I mean, and at the end of the trip, we went to a stone wall because our bed and bath, our Airbnb, was on the beach of the Atlantic Ocean. That I did not know. I didn't realize that Ireland sits on the same Atlantic Ocean that I'm on. But and the food was amazing too.
Oh, I bet it was.
Seafood. In great, great, and greater, honestly. And I don't like fish, and it was delicious. Okay,
That's great.
so so we went down to a place where you get all these river rocks,
Hmm.
and you write prayers, you write the names of the dead or promises, anything on these rocks, and you place them on the wall because when the tide comes in at certain times of the year, it carries them out. And initially I was like,
Oh,
I ain't got no name. Yes. And I didn't realize, but there are three folks who died that I was not at peace with how they died. And I wrote their names on one side of the rock, and on the other side, I wrote the names of three of my relatives who had long illnesses, and it was a blessing to pass away. And I wrote their names, and then I took a rock and I wrote, "Love comes first." And on the other side, I wrote, "Fear nothing." And I left that up there
beautiful.
in Ireland. And it's like I'm a different. I'm
You are.
I'm new. And
You're new.
Sedona,
Yep. Yep. You are.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
Amazing.
what, Allie? I was going to back out of doing this with you. I've been scared shitless since you told me to do it. But then I was speaking with EQ ab- about how we want to encourage the people that are out there that are experiencing woo woo, that have experienced things all their life. I wrote a list of things that are coincidences, but they're not. I knew when I got
Right.
pregnant with my son, I knew I was going to have a boy. You know, I knew this, I
Yeah.
knew that, and there are things that have happened, to all of us that if you just took the time to write it down and you would understand that and the other thing is this too that I learned, thank you, Susan, when you write the synchronicities down, when your guides know that you are making notes,
Yep.
they send them fast and furious.
Yes, they do. It's
Fast
like
and
a
furious.
buffet. It's like a buffet.
Yes, it becomes a buffet.
Yeah, it does.
It becomes a buffet. And that is the only, well, that was what I wanted to share and
Beautiful.
to
I got
invite.
goosebumps. I got goosebumps all over me. I do. I
Oh,
do.
thank you.
Well, the thing is that not only did you go through it and recognize it for what it was, but you now live it, and life becomes that spiritual experience. And then in sharing
Yes.
that, it's even, it's like even more important. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It is.
that's
It's so
fabulous.
great.
It is fabulous. Well, I'm
And
very proud of you. I am proud of you, and I thank you for wanting
thank
to.
you.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and also a quick thing. You know that Soul Sisters,
Yep,
EQ and Sonia,
yep,
they sell
yep.
they sell these crystal water bottles.
Yeah,
And
they're beautiful.
EQ gave me one to gift to my mother. My mom has it and began to say, I don't know if it's my imagination, but the water is a little bit sweeter out of my bottle. So I bought one and I said, okay, I do know this, that I'm drinking a lot more water
Good,
using it. Okay.
good. Yep.
So I gave a couple of them out as gifts. So one of my friends, Carol Lamb,
Yes.
did a
Okay.
pendulum swing on the crystal water bottle.
Okay.
She did a pendulum swing on it, asking it, "Does this help me open my third eye? Is this good for my spiritual body, my physical body?" And it was yes, 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 yes.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I said, I'm gifting more of these. I'm going to gift more because,
Good for
yeah,
you.
because
Yeah.
they are beautiful, but they also are functional,
Yes.
and that's that.
And that's
But
that.
yeah,
But
so
think about
that
it.
was Sedona.
If you get a like a rose quartz one, you're pretty much just drinking love.
That's the
It's
one I got.
is it?
That's the one I got. The rose quartz. Yes, yes. And it
All
helps.
right.
Hey, it helps. It helps. But yeah, nothing has been the
Yeah.
same since Sedona. Nothing has been the same.
That's fabulous.
Oh, adding
It
it,
was
adding
one
it.
of the best experiences. Yep.
Michael ran into the room and said to me while I was in the bathroom, he runs in there and he says, Allison, look, I don't know. I love you. I know you love me. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't care if we argue. I want to die with you. I'm good. Are you okay? And I'm like, well, if you would let me finish in the bathroom, we can have this discussion. But the thing is, that was what Linda G and Linda, I don't know,
Yeah.
Linda, I don't know her name, said. Oh, and the Linda who gave that reading, the other thing that was weird is she was not a part of our group.
Right.
She came up there, she gave the readings, and after she gave us the readings, she got in her car and drove off.
Oh,
Right.
where was she from? She just was there.
And she wasn't a part of our group. No,
Oh,
no,
wow.
nope.
Angels unaware.
angels, angels unaware, angels unaware, and like I said, it was just weird, weird, weird. And there was a girl in there also that was crying over leaving her husband too soon for a guy who was a catfish.
Oh,
And she was in our welcoming area, just crying, crying, crying.
yeah.
So because she's angry at a reader, I won't say their name, but the reader told her that a guy was coming into her life, and when this guy came along, she thought this was a guy and left her husband.
Oh
And
dear.
then her husband, yeah, and then he died of COVID. So she's crying in like grief and also, in regret. So I go over,
Yes.
because she's crying so hard. And not only that, but while she's crying, she's talking about how she's mad at the psychic who told her all of this stuff. And this guy is a good guy. This is a good guy.
Yeah.
So like all of us are like, because even though they were not in our group, they all were YouTube viewers.
Yes.
So she
Yes.
goes on this whole thing. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. So I leaned over and I said, girl, don't be in here crying over some guy. I said, look at you. You're beautiful. You're young. Things happen. Who gives a shit? I said, don't be in here crying. He catfished you. Tell him goodbye. Go. I
Yeah.
said, damn, how old are you? She said, I'm 63. I almost walked away from her. I stopped because first of all, she's gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
When she said I'm 63, but that was the story of the weekend because remember, there were lots of people in our group who did not look anywhere near the ages that they
Yeah.
told us they were.
Correct.
When she said I'm 63, because I said to her, "You're a realtor. You're in here. You are making money on vacation," because she was on the phone the whole time. When she left the room,
Mm-hmm.
the other ladies in the room said, "Did she say she was 63?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I wish I look." I said, "She's crying over some guy." I started to walk away from her. I said, "I wish I looked like that." I said, "I'm your age, and I don't look like that. You
Right.
better stop that damn crying." I said, "You better dry your eyes and get this shit right. Put some lipstick on. You'll be all right." You,
And good for you, girl. Oh, that's
girl,
so funny. That is funny.
that was
Yeah,
hilarious,
it
crazy.
was.
But
Well,
I think that that's it. Oh, and the UFOs.
hmm
I would not have believed if I didn't take the actual pictures. I would
right,
never have believed
right.
that they
Yeah,
are so close, and we are
they are
getting
close.
ready to.
Yep,
Yeah,
they are.
it's amazing.
And it wasn't too long from that time we were there. It was less than a month later that they had Dr. Greer come out and have all those
Yes,
fun talking about it. So it's just, it's all
yes,
there. It's all there. Yeah.
yes.
So yeah, girl, why did we have to be in our 60s to get so much enlightenment? I don't get it, but at least we got
Okay,
it.
you know why? There's there is a reason for that too, I believe. Because it's no accident that we're all a particular age. A
Yeah.
majority of the collective are between, I say, 55 and 75 years old.
Yeah, that's what
We're
I
all a particular age.
yeah.
And I don't think that we would be going through all of this education and prep to die at the usual ages. I think that we are being prepped to be here for an extended time, you know.
Yeah. Or at
And
least to help those people that are going to be very
yes,
fearful. Yeah.
yes, yep,
I agree.
yep.
I
So
agree. Wow.
that's it, girl.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, and I think we covered everything that we wanted to talk about. But
Yes,
I
yes.
say God bless you and thank you for being here. I know you were nervous about it, but you did fine.
I
And I
feel better.
think your
Thank you.
story is a good one to share. Yeah, it's a good one to share, Allison. So thank you, my
Okay.
love. I appreciate you.
Thank
Bye,
thank
everybody.
you, Allie,
Say
so
goodbye.
much.
All right.
Love you.
Take care.
Oh,
you too.
Allie. Can I say this to you off off
Oh, just stay
off
there.
camera, off recording?
Yes, we will. Yeah. I'm gonna
Okay.
just close now.